The Johnsky is a YouTube channel run by and run for people over the age of 13. People under the age of 13 should click off of this video right now, or watch with a parent or guardian. Viewer discretion is advised.
You don't scare me!
No, this is freaking today, Milishman. My name is King Prime. Welcome back to another video here on the YouTube channel. Now, I know what you might be asking. King Prime, why are we looking at a white screen? Where's your normal background? I'll tell you, my friends, we're on the floor because today we are taking a look at another, when I bought it, it was brand new, but it's not anymore, Transformers Studio Series 86 figure, that being the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Ultra Magnus. And this is a big boy. Before we take a look at said big boy, let's take a look at what it comes in. First off, we do have that very nice art of Magnus shooting some Decepticons, defending Autobot City. I love the shading there on his hands, as well as the venting of the blaster itself. You see some explosions, you see Autobot City in the background, yada yada. The Transformers The Movie trades down at the bottom left, as well as the Studio Series logo and his name with his faction. Studio Series 8621 Hasbro logo, big red Transformers logo on the side, as well as the Takara Tomy and Generations trades. Up at the top you have the Autobot shuttle blasting off, as well as the Transformers The Movie trades again. On the side here, we get 8621 once again, as well as Magnus very close up with these 2D series trades and the Commander class in different languages. On the other side, same image, just on a black background, as well as the authentic stamp. On the back of the box, we of course have the images of both Magnus in vehicle and robot mode, as well as all of the action features that it comes with. As you see, it works with deluxe figures, Battle of Autobot City, yada yada, big screen inspired, as we see with all these little tiny bio there on the bottom there, as well as some legal jargon and some more legal jargon. Well, of course, being a Studio Series 86 figure, Ultra Magnus does come with a display base. As you can see, it's just the background that we see on the very front of the box, just without Magnus in the foreground. As you can see, it's big, it's cumbersome, it's cardboard, it's nothing we haven't seen before. Of course, the Transformers The Movie trades, and it's authentic. Look at that. But as you know, my friends, as I say in every single video, you don't really care about the packaging if you're a boxed or carded collector, of which I am not. I'm here to open and review toys, and that is just what I'm going to do. Freeze frame.
Your final mission. Let your big go through your phone.
Hell no, you ass tweaking, Megatron!
Freeze frame on freeze, and here is Ultra Magnus out of the packaging. But before we take a look at the big man himself, let's take a look at what he comes with. Firstly, of course, we do have the iconic Ultra Magnus rocket pods that we see so often with Ultra Magnus figures. He, of course, has both of them for either of his shoulders, and these actually do come apart like so. So if you use the, spoiler alert, included blast effects, you could have a rocketing effect, or if you use a different effect, kind of like this one right here, where you have an explosion and another hole, you can put the rocket firing, and that actually looks pretty sick. So you can do this with, of course, all of these blast effects. You know, if you've worked with any of those blast effect parts through Siege or through Earthrise or through any of the normal chug lines that have happened in the last 5 years, you know how these work. You just saw me take him off of his shoulders, so you know you can, of course, just port these in with the fins facing up, like so. As I just said, Magnus does, of course, come with these fantastic blast effect parts, which have been used since Siege. These are modular, they come apart. Of course, the tip comes off like that, then the second section, the third, and the fourth here. So you have, you know, this kind of Christmas tree of death, I think is what I'm going to call it, which is what I like to call it sometimes. And of course, you get an extra one of these. I think you get two more of them, but I'm pretty sure I lost one. So you can, of course, if you have, you know, any of Magnus's guns, spoiler alert, plug those onto the edge to have a nice little blast effect, or like I showed previously, onto his missile pods, so you can have a missile launch feature. Speaking of guns, however, and considering this is the 4th of July, we do have two of them here. Of course, we do have the very accurate G1 inspired Ultra Magnus blaster that has the porting on it, just like you saw on the cover of the box, as well as the second one. But being blasters, Magnus can, of course, hold them. So let's bring in the big guy once again, and you can just plug those into his hands. They are just normal 5mm ports. So goes in one, goes in the other, and now you have a very well-armed Ultra Magnus, which is very nice to see. The final accessory that Ultra Magnus would come with is actually the Matrix of Leadership. However, I don't have it because I actually removed mine and threw it away. Because I don't need 1,000 matrices or matrices or matri. I don't know. If you have any of the Chug figures from the main line that you've bought in the last couple of years, you have that matrix. It's just a different attachment system. I don't like it, and I appreciate that they have the spring-loaded gimmick for Magnus to reveal his matrix. I just don't think it's necessary because I have an Optimus Prime for that. The technical last accessory that Magnus comes with is his ears. They come off separately. I advise gluing them because I cannot stand these things falling off all the time. It's really annoying to get them back on. And I guarantee they're going to come off within the rest of the review. So look forward to that rage-induced montage. But before that happens, let's take a look at Magnus himself. Of course, this is just a spitting image of Magnus. He does have some fantastic light piping. The entire back of his head is clear plastic, so his eyes shine really brightly in the light. I'll just give an example like that. Fantastic stuff. I absolutely adore that. I grew up with light piping, so I'm quite biased to it. He has an Autobot logo on his right shoulder, as he should, as well as the missile pods, which I mentioned previously. Red tinted windows for his chest. They're not clear or anything like that. Going down his crotch, of course, he does have that white piece that is no longer detachable. It's not parts forming anymore, yippee. Continuing down to his thighs and his calves, the giant thunder calves that Magnus has, the clodhoppers, and of course his really chunky arms and towers. So fantastic looking. He's a absolute unit. Just to give you a little example or a little a preview of how that works, I'm actually going to kind of go out of order here and show you exactly how big Magnus is. Here he is compared to our previous Transformers review, the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Windblade. She can quite literally live in his shadow and never, barely have a single piece of light sticking out and hitting her at all, which is completely wild. Here he is next to, and this is probably the funniest comparison I can give, a little Lego minifigure such as Luke Skywalker, who barely makes it past his foot. That's peak comedy to me. And finally, here he is next to an old friend, such as Classics 06 Optimus Prime. No more Parallax upgrade kit needed. This guy is just, he's, from some angles, it's not exact, obviously, but he looks almost to be 2 Optimuses tall, which is not the case by any means, but it looks like it, and that is absolutely hilarious. I can only call him a unit. We'll talk more about this in the final thoughts, of course, when I can actually say what I think about this figure more freely, but right now, let's just move on to the articulations. So, of course, Magnus does have a wonderful ball joint at the head. It can move all around there. And on top of that, he also has a hinge at the neck, so he can look all the way up. That's primarily due to transformation, but I'll still count it. He does also have a full range of motion at the shoulder on a very clicky ratchet joint, which I love, as well as a full extension outward and an upper bicep swivel, which is fantastic. He does have a elbow bend, which goes about, actually pretty much exactly 90 degrees on a ratchet as well. He does have a wrist swivel, which is great to see on Transformers figures, and because he's a commander class and has a larger scale to him, he has opposable fingers, 2 joints on each finger, and then his index finger can move independently so he can point at things like that. Fantastic articulation there. I love to see that, especially on non-masterpiece figures. Magnus does, of course, have a waist swivel, which is kind of hard to get to just because of the size of the figure, but it is there and it is solid, which is nice to see. He does, of course, have, and mind the angle there, full range of motion at the hips. He can get a full kick forward, and his little crotch plate will move out of the way when he does that. Almost a full kick back. You just have to extend his butt plate to get that extension there, as well as if you put up his skirt pieces, a full extension out so you can get the full Van Damme going, which is awesome to see. He does also have, of course, a knee bend, which is fantastic. It can only go about 90 degrees, but that's about what I expect from this.
Yeah, he also has a thigh swivel, which I forgot to mention. Whoops.
As well as a ankle pivot, which is pitiful, truthfully. It's kind of standard at this point. I would be pretty remiss if Magnus didn't have it, but I'm glad he does. But that's about it for the articulation. Let's move on so I can show you exactly how Ultra Magnus works. Freeze frame.
I've never seen anything this beautiful in the entire galaxy. All right, give me the bomb.
Freeze from unfreeze. So, funny enough, Magnus has, because he's a commander class figure, demands a higher price point and therefore has more features, actually has a couple of play features that would not be necessarily included on another, maybe deluxe or Voyager class release. Magnus has play features, so you can actually, you can dismember him just like in the movie. All you need to do is pull down on these tabs on his arms and rip it off just like that. It kind of looks like a Combiner Wars-esque joint. It is not. It's a different size, I believe. All you got to do is slip that around and you have Magnus with an arm off. Of course, you can do the same thing with his legs. You just come around to the side here and hold down this red button here and you wiggle like hell. You might actually end up popping the mushroom peg out before you pop the leg out, which is fine. It's not going to affect anything. But it, as you can see, I did the thing. I popped it out off the thigh joint instead of off of the button. So give me 1 second to get this out of there. There we go. It's very tight, which I do not like. But of course you can just pop this right back on. And then, you have your Magnus with his leg off and stuff like that. So you can, of course, do this with the other arm and the other leg. I'm just not going to because I don't feel like it, and it's a kind of a difficult thing to do. I like my Magnus to have his arms and his legs. And then additionally, and the last thing I needed to talk about before I actually get onto the transformation, the butt plate. As you can see, there's a slot in his butt and a tab on his main weapon. You can do the funny Jobby the Hong thing and
Put it in my ass.
And then there's another one right there. There is another tab on the weapon here. It's clear. Just slide that thing right in there, and you've got your weapon storage. Very nice. I have waffled plenty for this review. Let's actually finally get on to the transformation. It's not that difficult. It might seem pretty daunting because Magnus is, let's keep it real, freaking huge. But all you really need to do is, of course, remove those 2 missile pods and just start with the top. Remove these 2 little tabs right here so you can kind of swing out his arms like so. And once you do that, you can just unfold them like this to either side so that they're very much spread out. Extend Magnus's arms fully like so, as well as open up the doors on the forearms and extend them down so that they cover up the hand. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Just extend down. Just close that up, and there you go. The next thing you're going to want to do is just take these blue pieces to either side of his chest and put them out to the side right here. Then you can rotate the figure around and start working on the back, which is pretty complex, but not actually, but kind of. Just bear with me. Extend out the sides of the vehicle mode cab portion and just untab the cab wholly from the back. As you can see, it kind of just makes up his backpack. All you need to do here then is unfold from the very bottom the front of the cab and fold it up. As you can see on the bottom here, the wheels are just hanging out down there. You're just going to want to push them out. All you need to do to get them out is flip up this panel right here and then push them through on either side. As you can see, they will extend like that. Once you do, just fold up the truck face, come around to the other side, back to the front of the robot mode. As you can see, you can just lift up his chest piece here, and when you do that, just lift up on the entirety of yeah, there it goes, of the chest, which will lift all the way around. As you can see, this is a clusterfuck. I promise it gets better. Come in here and do some fine detailing. Of course, on the bottom here, you see these two smokestacks. Just extend them upwards. That's where they'll rest in the vehicle mode. Next, you're going to see two slots right here, one right there on the other side of what was just his shoulders. His chest piece is on a hinge right here and right here. Just rotate it up and make sure that the tabs that are right here and right here go into those slots. Once they do, of course, you will have a flush piece to kind of slide these two clips up onto. One thing to note, however, is that this piece right here that was previously just his back needs to be down underneath this assembly so that Magnus's face can actually go into it. That's just a little thing to note. It's going to cause you a lot of rage if you don't do it, but once you have that all situated, just rotate Magnus's clips that were once his collarbones all the way up, unfold the cab piece there, and rotate the roof back up on top. As you can see, there are tabs and slots on either sides of the inside of the truck cab. Just make sure those all line up. Tab in on either side, tab the truck face into the cab, and there you have a complete cab section with the smokestacks sticking up, which is very nice. Magnus's face, like I said earlier, will just tab right into this little, and it's extremely hard to see, this little assembly right here. As you can see, it's right on the tip of my thumb. The little tabs that you see sticking right above the blue part of his face, and with the other one right there, it's kind of hard to catch the light. Those will go into the grooves cut out on either side of his cheekbones. You can just get them in like so. It takes a little bit of concentration and patience to do. Once you get it in there, you'll feel a little click and you'll know that you've got it. Next, you can just rotate out his back tires and pull up on the assembly to free the cab from here on out. It's pretty smooth sailing, truthfully. Come around back to the front of the robot, of course, and you can rotate around this section right here, as well as something that I've actually not done in my previous transformation. There's a little piece right here that has two little white dots that's supposed to be folded down for robot mode, but it was folded up like that for vehicle mode. Flip this white piece up like so. That'll tab in with a click right here, kind of slotting itself in so that it doesn't move around. And then come to his legs, where you can rotate both of the bottoms of his feet, or his shins, I guess, up into a standing position. Next, you're just going to want to come around to the back here and untab his knees from the front where they lie right now. He's actually has double jointed knees, as you can see. The bottom joint is right there. Just untab it and rotate it so that this white tab unpegs from that little slot right there. Then you can kind of do this strange little chicken leg bend so that the entire knee is kind of sticking out the back here. I'll do the exact same thing on the other side and just rotate it up at the knee so that it is collapsed. From there, just assure that the legs are straightened out, and you can see, of course, there's the tabs wanting to go together in the center. You can tab those together now. It's perfectly fine to do so. And then while we're down here, There are two little hinges with assemblies with holes in them right here and right here. Fold those up and push them forward. They will eventually be what connects the top arms to the back of the vehicle. If his side skirts have extended kind of like this, just make sure you fold them down. Take these blue pieces on either side, fold them up like this. They will eventually tab into these pieces right here. From here, you just take the arms and rotate them around like this. Once they are in this extended position, as you can see, there are two little pieces right here that are just going to slide into either side of that. As you can see on the other side process, just rotate the arm around. And once it's around, fold up these two pieces and they'll hold the arm in place. Then just rotate this up and ensure that this little slot right here, as you can see, I'm shining the light through it, goes into that little tab right there. They will connect and you can have that fully extended there. Do the exact same thing on the other side. You'll hear it click like that. And that's how you know you've kind of got it in the right place. Before you rotate those around, there's a little panel right here you're just going to want to flip around so that the white side is facing out. Do the exact same thing on the opposite side, like that. Once you do, you can just take the arm and on that ratchet joint, fold it all the way around. Do the exact same thing on the other side, like that. From here, make sure you connect them with these two white tabs. Of course, they will slide into each other. And on the bottom, this hole will be filled by this T-shaped tab right here. Put those together, and the top assembly of the vehicle mode is complete. Right in here, there's actually a little panel that you're going to just flip out. There's a tiny little tab right here. Flick it out with your thumb or any kind of part separator or anything, and it'll pull out this panel. It's the exact same thing on the other side, so it fills out that little gap there. You can then see that there is a tab right here that will go into the slot that we actually folded out a couple steps ago. As you can see, there is a slot there, tab there. Just line those two up on either side. Make sure that they connect. From here, you can take the upper parts of what were once his shins and extend those. As you can see, the top will kind of go into this little groove right here and tab in like that on either side. Then there is a panel folded up and folded again. Unfold the top part from the bottom part, swing that around, and tab that in. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Tab it in. On the bottom here, his butt flap has just kind of been waving around. As you can see, there is a peg on the bottom there. There's a hole right on the bottom of his butt. Do the Jobby the Hong thing. Plug it in. Snap. And then finally, on his back wheels, as you can see, there's a white little hinge there. Pull down his wheels so that the blue parts end up flush with the bottom of the vehicle itself. As you can see right here, it is not flush. There's an overhang. Once you fix that, there is no overhang. It is flush. And the transformation is, for the most part, complete. I can barely fit Magnus into frame because he is so big. I'll have to actually lift up the camera to show you him in his full transformed glory. As you can see, he's a big lad. He's supposed to be, of course, a car carrier, and he can do that. For example, I'll bring in one of our previous Studio Series 86 reviews, Brawn. You can extend these two ramps right here all the way down, slide up Brawn right in there, and close the ramps. And there you can have a deluxe class vehicle, or two, or maybe four, depending on if you want to try to balance them on the top, which I wouldn't recommend personally, but you can do it sitting in his trailer, which is very nice. Magnus does, of course, have weapons storage for all of his weapons. If you know anything about Ultra Magnus, you know that, of course, on the vehicle mode, he is supposed to be able to store his missile pods, and this figure is no different. There's a little port right here that you can plug with the fins up. Remember that. The first missile pod into, and do the exact same thing on the other side. Find the port, put the missile in it, and there you go. There's Magnus with his missiles. Very nice. Of course, there are more ports. As you can see, there's one right here that you can plug one of his weapons into. Either of them will work. So you can put the small one on the left side and the right one on the big side, or vice versa. Here you can see the handles will still plug in. So you have the storage for the weapons, which is pretty great. Of course, to bring in a couple of comparisons, here we have Ultra Magnus next to our previous Transformers Legacy review, Windblade. That is not even... scale is fun. Scale's a fun thing, guys. I promise. It's really, like, you could land her on this. That's wild. You could land Windblade on Ultra Magnus. Here Magnus is next to a little Lego minifigure such as Luke Skywalker. That seems about in scale. And here he is next to our old friend, Classics 06, Optimus Prime. So as you can see, the size of the cabs have, of course, changed over the years. This is what we've come to expect of Studio Series 86. It's G1 accurate to a T. And even though Prime is massive, for once, Magnus is bigger, which is fun to see. But enough about the scale. Let's move on to my final thoughts so I can tell you exactly what I think about Ultra Magnus. Freeze frame.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
You got the touch. You got the power.
Freeze frame on freeze. So, Magnus, how do I say this? He's an intimidating gem. He is massive, as we've come to understand in this video. Therefore, he conveys the illusion of being an intimidating Transformer to own. However, he's actually fairly intuitive and straightforward with his transformation. There's a couple dozen steps, truthfully. There's a lot to him. However, he's not the most difficult Transformer to get together and apart. I have very few complaints other than, of course, the ears, which I just cannot stand. The lack of a real ankle pivot, which kind of sucks. And the tightness in the joints around the thighs and things like that for the detachment gimmick. Other than that, I really have no complaints with this thing. I've seen a lot of people complain that, of course, there's no mini Optimus inside of it. That's, just a white repaint of Prime. I prefer it that way. I like the IDW comics, but I'm not a Timothy fan. I like the G1 interpretation of Magnus like this is supposed to be, and I like the fact that this is an all-in-one robot. Fantastic stuff. So many accessories, so much playability with this guy. The light piping still blows me away. Some people still say he's too big, that he's too wide on the shoulder, to which I reply, go watch the movies again, you freaking goober. He was like that in the film. He's kind of hard to pose. This is not the greatest of poses that I've ever had for a thumbnail or whatever. However, this figure is truly a delight. I love this thing. My biggest complaint with it is that it's impossible to find, much like all of the Commander classes. No retail store stocks them. You have to go through Hasbro to actually get it. I think that everyone deserves to have this thing, even for $90. It's such a good figure, and I definitely would recommend it for any Ultra Magnus fan. But if you like Ultra Magnus, or you like Transformers G1, you like Transformers G1 Season 3, you like the Transformers the movie, you like Transformers in general, make sure you share this video with your friends, share the Facebook groups, all that good stuff. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Keeps helping the channel grow, keeps helping me pump out this content. That's going to be pretty much it for this time, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, peace.